Okay, well, I tore into the tender. It has decals. The paint's old and gummy, but I think it'll clean, okay? I think it'll clean up just fine. The decals being in good shape is a big deal for me. I think that's great. The railings are mashed. They're rusty. The steps are intact. That's a good thing. Because you can see there's a lot of rust on that railing, and that may or may not buff out. I'll have to see. And there is a rear light, which appears, lenses there and intact. Here's the bulb for that rear light. It looks like it's burned out. Interesting note, we had the red wire on the engine and the red stamp on the engine shell. No stamp on the tender, but first time I've seen a red wire, and this looks original, I have to say. It looks like it's the original wire for the backlight. It's just odd that we've got red wire and a red stamp. I just think that's meaningful. The harness, as you can see, has been pulled apart. It's just old and frayed, and I think it's pretty much gone. I loosened up the reverse. Odd thing is, there's a screw missing, but it's not really missing, because if you look, there's two screws there, and there's a screw hole, tapped hole there. But when you look at the tender itself, the frame, there's no hole for that third screw. So they just used these two screws to hold the reverse in. The other unit had 3 holes and had 3 screws. Pretty interesting. The mechanism works as far as the function. I haven't tried the solenoid, but I mean, you can see that it's working, and it's ratcheting and turning the drum. The drum itself is filthy, corroded, and gunky, and the brushes, in fact, the lower brushes, you will see, if I get any kind of a view of it, there is a hole in that lower brush. So those are worn out brushes, the fingers, I mean. And the fingers can be replaced, no problem. So I can replace the fingers and clean up the drum and clean everything, this housing, and I'm betting you this will come back to life. I just think that's the case. I am gonna have to create a new harness, either buy one or get one. I'm worried, I hate to not use original, as like the fabric insulation and everything, but it just worries me that we're going to put it all together, and then some of the wire is going to come falling off out of old age and use. So I may go ahead and replace this, order a new harness, and see if I can get one in cloth. I don't know, we'll see. It would be impossible to refit this thing, in my opinion. Okay, so that's it. I got my notes page here, put in what I thought were the pertinent points. It has the 2-bolt reverse. I'm looking at the harness getting replaced, and yes, there is a drawbar hitch here. Once we get it apart, we can see it. But one of the concerns I had is that this is a rivet to metal. There is no insulation, so that is a direct contact. If the wheels aren't insulated, then that is a hot, that's a hot spot. So you got to kind of think that through, because I've had trouble without insulating that, getting feedback from one to the other. We have 1 brass wheel, and we're missing 3 others. So for this to be correct, I'd try to find 3 more brass wheels. The coupler was replaced. It was link. It's now knuckle, and not a deal. You go either way with that. Doesn't matter. But it has all the little caps on the side rails, it looks like, and they're intact. The bushings feel like they're okay. They're not heated up or worn out. They look okay. And it appears that this thing could come back pretty easily. I don't see any issue. I'm going to have to clean the pins out if I'm going to use this board. I got to heat those up and shove some wire down there to get all the old wire out, all the old solder. Then I put in the new pins and solder them in, and this would then be part of the harness. That would be part of the new harness that would connect to the engine. We'll see how that goes. Everything here is rusty. What I may do is, if I can't just get the rust off, I may have to sand it and put a little coat of flat black or something on here to kind of bring that back to life, because that is a lot of rust, and I don't think we want to see that going around the track if we can help it. Okay, that's the story on the tender. I'm going to go post these two and then start work on the 343 electric motor rebuild.